one of the questions that we could ask with anthropometry is, what's the maximum possible error associated with any piece of data? So there are three principal sources of that sort of error. One would be the biological variation in a true accurate measurement. Another measurement might be the difference between measuring in a certain way and measuring according to a different way, or a protocol difference, as we could refer to it. But the one that has the most profound influence on our ability to improve our detectability of these changes we're looking for is by acquiring sufficient skill to reduce the technical error of the measurement. And for instance, an unpracticed person might be able to measure stature to within 1.5 centimeters, but a practiced person might be able to measure it to within 1.5 millimeters. So that has a hugely positive effect on bringing down the error associated with any one measurement. And the consequence for that is that we can trust our data, which becomes very important when we're trying to detect change. However, one of the most important things to realize is that there is still biological variation happening. If we consider body mass index, for instance, what we've got is the body stretching out while we sleep, being tallest in the morning, and then we have the body weight being perhaps heaviest in the evening. And if you put those two things together, we can have a fluctuation in calculated body mass index, because the asynchronicity of the variation in stature and mass is offset by several hours. And because of that, we can have a real variation by more than one BMI unit in 24 hours of an adult, and probably more than that in a child. So we need to be very careful when we're assigning an obesity category based on body mass index, unless we're aware of, for instance, the protocol, the measurement error, and also the time of day these measurements were made. And if I were to talk about the health warning of obesity, one of my concerns is if we're categorizing people into underweight, normal weight, overweight, obese, or severely obese, then the delimiters between each of these categories are actually very blurred boundaries indeed. We need to be very careful that in trying to represent a series of categories, in terms of representing a spectrum of change in convenient categories which have a label, we can actually misclassify people. We have both false negatives and false positives, and we need to know the likelihood of misclassifying people. And that becomes important at an individual level, but it also is important when considering things such as ethnic variation, measuring BMI differences between populations.